Have you ever wondered what a drum set contains? Hello. I am Travison Koopa. I'm Jackson Koopa's younger brother. And I like to play the drums. I have a yellow forehead, red eyes, magenta sunglasses, purple hair, yellowish-green vest, and a purple shell with yellowish-green rings around my spikes. Anyway, let's explore the anatomy of a drum set and the different types of drum sets. First, I will show you the anatomy of drum sets. As you can see, I have my own drum set. This drum, which is the lowest of the drum set, is called the kick drum, also known as a bass drum. It is a large drum that produces a note of low definite or indefinite pitch. The instrument is typically cylindrical, with the drum's diameter much greater than the drum's depth, with a struck head at both ends of the cylinder. The kick drum, a term for a bass drum associated with a drum kit, which is much smaller than the above-mentioned bass drum. It is struck with a beater attached to a pedal, usually seen on drum kits. The pitched bass drum, generally used in marching bands and drum corps, is tuned to a specific pitch and is usually played in a set of 3 to 6 drums. The earliest known predecessor to the bass drum was the Turkish devil, a cylindrical drum that featured 2 thin heads, developed in Turkey. Bass drums have many synonyms and translations, such as grand cassa, Italian, groscase, French, gros trommel or bass trommel, German, and bombo, Spanish. It is also the lowest musical drum, and it sounds like this. Now, this drum right here is called a snare drum. The snare drum, or side drum, is a percussion instrument that produces a sharp staccato sound when the head is struck with a drumstick, due to the use of a series of stiff wires held under tension against the lower skin. Snare drums are often used in orchestras, concert bands, marching bands, parades, drumlines, drum corps, and more. It is one of the central pieces in a drum set, a collection of percussion instruments designed to be played by a seated drummer and used in many genres of music. Because basic rhythms are very easy to learn to play on a snare drum even for children, the instrument is also suitable for the music education for young children and a rhythm band. Snare drums are usually played with drumsticks, but other beaters such as the brush or the root can be used to achieve different tones. The snare drum is a versatile and expressive percussion instrument due to its sensitivity and responsiveness. The sensitivity of the snare drum allows it to respond audibly to the softest strokes, even with a wire brush. It can be used for complex rhythmic patterns and engaging solos at moderate volumes. Its high dynamic range allows the player to produce powerful accents with vigorous strokes and a thundering crack when rimshot strokes are used. Back in the 13th century, the snare drum seems to have descended from a medieval drum called the tabor, which was a drum with a single gut snare strung across the bottom. It is a little bigger than a medium tom and was first used in war, often played with a fife, pipe. The player would play both the fife and drum. Tabors were not always double-headed and not all may have had snares. By the 15th century, the size of the snare drum had increased and had a cylindrical shape. This simple drum with a simple snare became popular with the Swiss mercenary troops who used the fife and drum from the 15th to 16th centuries. The drum was made deeper and carried along the side of the body. Further developments appeared in the 17th century, with the use of screws to hold down the snares, giving a brighter sound than the rattle of a loose snare. During the 18th century, the snare drum underwent changes which improved its characteristic sound. Metal snares appeared in the 20th century. Today the snare drum is used in jazz, pop music and modern orchestral music. It sounds like this. Now, this drum right here is called a rack tom. It is a cylindrical drum with no snares, named from the Anglo-Indian and Sinhala language. It was added to the drum kit in the early part of the 20th century. Most toms range in size between 6 and 20 inches, 15 and 51 centimeters, in diameter. Those floor toms can go as large as 24 inches, 61 centimeters. The drum called thamatama, played by the Sinhala people of Sri Lanka, is used in a number of Buddhist rituals in that country. This may be etymologically derived from the Tamil term thapatam or tapu, a frame drum associated with South Indian Tamil culture. However, the tom-tom drums on the Western drum set clearly resemble the Sri Lankan version more than the frame drum. It is likely that the term tom-toms thus comes from their experiences in colonial Sri Lanka, then called Ceylon, or South India. The term tom-tom also has variants in the Telugu and Hindi languages, but only in Sri Lanka is there an indigenous drum with the same name, Thamatama. The first American drum set toms had no rims and were usually what were referred to as Chinese tom-toms. The pigskin heads were tacked to the wooden shells with metal tacks. Through close collaboration with Gene Krupa's concept of fully tunable toms, the Slingerland Drum and Banjo Company were the first, in 1936, to begin offering fully tunable tom-toms, top and bottom heads, with metal or wooden rims, tension rods, and lugs. Most Chinese toms were 10 to 14 inches in diameter, but the American drum companies were eventually producing a wider range of diameters and depths. These drums were usually clamped to the bass drum rims or sat in cradles as floor stand drums. The sizes that Krupa chose became the standard for many decades, and they were 13 x 9, mounted, and 16 x 16, floor. Later, mounted on 3, or, if larger than 16 x 16, 4, legs were attached to the floor tom designs. Together with a snare drum and a bass drum of varying size, the combination of the 4 drums became a set. It sounds like this. Now, this drum right here is called a floor tom. A floor tom or low tom is a double-headed tom-tom drum which usually stands on the floor on 3 legs. However, they can also be attached to a cymbal stand with a drum clamp, or supported by a rim mount. The floor toms are the lowest tuned drums played with sticks on a regular drum set. The floor tom was popularized by Gene Krupa in the 1950s, using a 16 by 16. The floor tom is also used as a small bass drum by some, mostly jazz, drummers. In that case it is mounted horizontally on a specially designed rack system. More recently, companies such as Pearl have come out with floor tom to bass drum conversion sets. These commonly consist of strategically shaped rods that one can put in place of the floor tom legs to stand it up horizontally. Under this method, it is fairly common that a drummer get appropriately sized bass drum hoops to complete the conversion process. Floor toms are also used in music parades, often being carried and then lifted up and hit to add effect. It can also be used as a substitute for surdo and samba and bossa ire. These drums are also found in a jazz band drum kit. It sounds like this. This is called a hi-hat. A hi-hat, hi-hat, etc. is a combination of 2 cymbals and a pedal, all mounted on a metal stand. It is a part of the standard drum kit used by drummers in many styles of music including rock, pop, jazz, and blues. Hi-hats consist of a matching pair of small to medium-sized cymbals mounted on a stand, with the 2 cymbals facing each other. The bottom cymbal is fixed and the top is mounted on a rod which moves the top cymbal toward the bottom one when the pedal is depressed. The cymbals may be played by closing them together with the pedal, which creates a CHCK sound, or striking them with a stick, which may be done with them open, closed, open and then closed after striking to dampen the ring, or closed and then open to create a shimmering effect at the end of the note. Hi-hats that were raised and could be played by hand as well as foot may have been developed around 1926 by Barney Wahlberg of the drum accessory company Wahlberg & Dodge. The first recognized master of the new instrument was Papa Joe Jones, whose playing of time-keeping ride rhythms while striking the hi-hat as it opened and closed inspired the innovation of the ride cymbal. A hi-hat can produce a range of dynamics, from very quiet CHCK, or chick sounds, done with merely gently pressing the pedal. This is suitable for soft accompaniment during a ballad or the start of a guitar solo, to very loud. It sounds like this. Now, drum sets usually have 2 cymbals. The first one is called the crash cymbal. A crash cymbal is a type of cymbal that produces a loud, sharp crash and is used mainly for occasional accents, as opposed to a ride cymbal. It can be mounted on a stand and played with a drumstick, or by hand in pairs. 1 or 2 crash cymbals are a standard part of a drum kit. Suspended crash cymbals are also used in bands and orchestras, either played with a drumstick or rolled with a pair of mallets to produce a slower, swelling crash. Sometimes a drummer may hit 2 different crash cymbals in a kit at the same time to produce a very loud accent, usually in rock music. Although crash cymbals range in thickness from paper thin to very heavy, all crash cymbals have a fairly thin edge. They are typically 14 to 18 inches, 36 to 46 centimeters, in diameter. It sounds like this. And the other one is also the crash cymbal. It's sometimes called the splash cymbal. The ride cymbal is a symbol of material sustain used to maintain a beat in music. A standard in most drum kits, the ride's function is to maintain a steady pattern, sometimes called a ride pattern, rather than provide the accent of a crash cymbal. It is normally placed on the extreme right, or dominant hand, of a drum set, above the floor tom. It is often described as delivering a shimmering sound when struck soundly with a drumstick, and a clear ping when struck atop its bell. The ride can fulfill any function or rhythm the hi-hat cymbal does, with the exception of an open and closed sound. It sounds like this. Oh, it has the same sound as a crash cymbal. Now then, each component produces a unique sound. I'll show you what I mean when I put them together. See how I did it? It was also used in almost every music, from jazz, to rock, to country, to funk, to blues, to soul, etc. There are different types of drum sets. There's basic drum set, the rock drum set, the jazz drum set, the Latin drum set, the reggae drum set, the ballad drum set, etc. There is also the electronic drum set, and the drum is a member of the percussion group of musical instruments, and they're played around the world. Types of drum included a barakuwa, ashiko, a tupan, bara, the bass drum, bata, bidug, bodhran, the bongo drums, the bangarabu, buck, cajon, the kendal drums, the chalice drum, the chenda, the cocktail drum, the conga drum, the crowdy cron, the darbuka, the damfu, the davil, the dawer, the dak, the dumi, the dole, the dolak, the djemba, the dongsun drum, the dumbik, the dunoon, the U drums, the fontumfram, the frame drum, the goblet drum, the hand drum, the idaka, the alimba drum, the karayenda, the kendang, the kpalogo, the lembag drum, the log drum, the madal, the murdangam, the pahu, the pakavao, the repanik, the marching snare drum, the slid drum, the snare drum, the surdo, the tabor, the tambrum, the tambourine, the taiko, the tabla, the talking drum, the tasha drum, the tapan, the tar, the tavil, the tenor drum, the timbals, the timpani, the tombak, the tom-tom drum, the tongue drum, and the zabumba. Acoustic drum sets are the most common and produce a classic sound, but electronic drum sets are perfect for practicing without disturbing others and offer a variety of sound options. The rock drum set is used for playing rock music. The jazz drum set is used for playing jazz music. The Latin drum set is used for playing Latin music. The reggae drum set is used for playing reggae music. The ballad drum set is used for playing ballad music. And the electronic drum set is used for playing electronic music. Drummers used to play the drums. There are many types of drums that you will encounter in both cultural and modern music, and there are various types of drums around the world made from wood, metal, and plastic, has become an essential part of jazz, rock, and other American music genres that were traced back millennia throughout Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Drums and percussion instruments are an essential part of any musical ensemble. They come in a wide range of sizes and shapes and can be found in various styles of music, from classical and orchestral to contemporary and rock.